Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and it's Monday night. We're doing episode 2 of season 5 of Better Call Saul. It's called 50% Off. Another fucking amazing episode. I love talking about this show so much. I don't even know what to say about this scene that starts the episode off, man, because 50% off, that's like almost half. So we see a couple of guys who are basically Jesse Pinkman, Skinny Pete, and Badger, like, times 10, times 100, times 1,000. I don't know what to say about this. It's a crazy drug and alcohol-fueled rampage through the city of Albuquerque that I can only think is going to pay off at some point. I think it's meant to represent, though, even if we never see these guys again, I think it's supposed to represent what these guys think of a 50% off deal. They keep saying it over and over and over again throughout this scene. Basically, if we get caught, hey, at least we're only going to have to pay 50% of our lawyer. There's the line that Jimmy throws out there later of what kind of person's going to do anything just for 50% off my lawyer fees. Well, I think we have our answer right here. Talk about doing anything for a deal. Now, I don't know if we'll see them again. I actually thought that these guys were going to show up at the end of the episode in trouble, or at some point in the episode in trouble. But it's fun. I mean, seriously, these guys are like Skinny Pete and Badger, like on, like it. I don't think I've ever seen Skinny Pete and Badger this insane, but I don't know. So it's just, holy shit, is all I could think of while I was watching this. I feel like I was watching, you guys remember, if anybody remembers the movie Go by Doug Liman. Had some crazy drug-fueled scenes. This is even more crazy than that. But we start off this episode with a home invasion Gus Fring style. Gus Fring really knows how to put the fucking fear of God in you. They come into Nacho's home in the middle of the night, drag him out, take him to his dad's store, and Michael Mando, I don't think we talk about Michael Mando enough. I mean, a lot of people know him as, you know, the motion captured villain from Far Cry 3. Some people know him from the show about the clones. What the hell is that one called? Oh man, it's escaping me. It's gonna like come to me in the middle of the night. The one where the girl had a bunch of different versions of herself. It's right there on the tip of my tongue. But this guy has been good in everything that I've ever seen him in. And as Nacho Varga, this, I'm gonna say tragic, because he is a drug dealer, right? He's doing whatever he feels like, but then once he gets involved further with the Salamancas and Fring, he's in so far over his head. He's just trying to keep his family alive, and he has no way out. I honestly think that if Nacho could get out of the business right now, he would. And I don't mean too far after the fact either. I think that he wanted out a while ago, and it just caught up with him really, really fast. And Mando plays his character with this desperation that's kind of rivals a little of what you see sometimes in Walter White and Bryan Cranston's performances when he's really, and Jesse, Aaron Paul, when he's really, really caught up and given no choice in the situation. He gives the same kind of intense performance that they do. Especially like in this scene where he wants to probably scream out for his father, but he knows that if he does, they'd be dead for sure, and then he'd be dead. And he has to just sit there and take it as Fring slides into the seat. He barely has to do anything or say anything to understand that what Fring wants is for him to get close to Lalo. I always say Eduardo now because it's just easier than saying Lalo, because I don't want to mispronounce his name. To get close to him, get his trust, figure out what's going on so that they can make a move against him. This is what Gus Fring does when he just wants to send a little message to you to like, hey, do this. I need you to do this. It's subtle and not subtle at the same time. And it's just brilliant. Gus Fring is one of the best villains on anything really, but one of the best villains on TV for sure. He's up there with Cigarette Smoking Man on X-Files for sure, and like Benjamin Linus on Lost. Jimmy going house shopping. This is another really good scene because he can feel her pulling away. He can feel her anger towards what he, suggested she did, and then when she tells him that they went for it, I think he senses her disgust, in giving in to what she said she wouldn't do. And I think he's desperate right now to keep her. He can feel that pull. And so, what's the next obvious thing? Let's go house shopping. Let's try to get closer as I feel you pulling away. And I think a lot of people in relationships feel this when they've got that person who's pulling away and you try to make some grand gesture to prove, no, we're strong, right? We're strong. We can get a house. There's even like a moment when they're in the closet and she's like, this is your dream closet. And he's like, our dream closet. And she pauses for a second and just kind of quietly says, sure. Not real enthused, just kind of like, sure. She does have a moment of playfulness in the shower because she is trying. She's trying really hard. In fact, Kim is basically being the most understanding and supportive girlfriend in the entire world. She sees where he's headed and she's trying so hard to keep it together. But I think they both are starting to see the writing on the walls already. But I also think they're in denial at the same time. She's not ready to give up on him. She does love him. And I from the beginning of the show, I never knew that this relationship would feel this important to me. I think it's important to a lot of other people out there too. We've been talking in the comment section about what happens to Kim. Do they get married? What would be the circumstances of the divorce? There's a lot of debate. And like I said in the first episode review, the mystery surrounding what happens to Kim, I think, is like the biggest mystery of the show. We know where Saul's headed. We know where Mike's headed. We know where Gus is headed. It's all the side characters here that are pretty much almost guaranteed to be the collateral damage here, whether it's Kim or Hamlin or Nacho. We even know where Crazy Eight's headed. Speaking of, I love Crazy Eight's little arc in this episode. It's a nice little nod, a little Easter egg for those that were paying attention to where his name comes from. But he can feel her pulling away, and he just can't help himself. For all the things that he's trying to do, for all the apologies, for all the never agains, we know that there will always be another time. We do. It's like watching home movies of a doomed relationship, of like being in the future and knowing that, seeing two friends of yours be divorced, right? They're divorced now, but then watching home movies and watching them fall apart in front of you. And just that journey of where will they end up. I happen to think that they'll get married. There was a person in the chat that, in the comment section, that I agree with. I think we're on the same page of that they're going to get married, and there's going to be some sort of, because of some sort of can't incriminate yourself with your, or your husband or wife in something bad, and then that's going to go bad, and that'll be the first divorce of Saul or Jimmy, whoever he wants to be called. But after that, I don't know. And I also thought that maybe she'd play a part in the black and white fast forward if she survives this. I think she'll survive the show. But where she ends up after that is going to be really interesting. Lalo coming to Hector Salamanca. Hector Salamanca, man, one of the best characters, man. With almost barely gets to talk on the entire show, right? Because other than flashbacks, he is just in that wheelchair and he has to do so much with facial expressions and a bell. Just freaking brilliant. And he really works that face, man. Well, through their little facial tick bell ringing, Lalo figures out that Hector's basically saying to him that if you want to get to Frang, like if everything is all about the money, they don't care, kind of what I said in the first review, right? They don't care about anything but the money. As long as he's an earner, as long as he keeps bringing money in and has all these ideas that keep playing out, they don't care. Eladio don't care. Bolsa don't care. So if the money suddenly were to stop coming in, well, then something could be done about Gus. Again, it's kind of like watching play out that you know where the end is. You just haven't had the gaps filled in, and this is all about filling in those gaps. So how are they going to fuck up? How are they not going to get Gus Fring is really the answer to this question. How close are they going to get to stopping Gus before they're fucking ended? We know that Hector's fine, but like another interesting thing though is like Hector's got it good right now. He's in a nice, expensive facility. Think about where we saw him before. It wasn't an awful place. It wasn't a horrible place. Well, he was out in the fucking desert for a while, right? But he ends up in an okay place. But this is a nice place. So you figure whatever happens here, Hector's not going to a nicer place after this is over. So also in bad shape is Mike. After, killing Ziegler, confronting Gus about it, putting up with it, and then telling him where to screw. He's in really bad mental shape. And babysitting is not a good idea. And his hair trigger towards anything about his son is shown in this episode. And, the love of his life is his granddaughter. And in this episode, when he loses it on her, it's massive. And it shows kind of like that strained relationship that he has with his husband's or his son's widow, his daughter-in-law. When she's talking about how good her father was, when his granddaughter's talking and praising her dead father to him, it's so much that reflection of Mike's failures as not just a father, but as a man in general. And it makes him think about all the choices that he's made to get to this point, that he's outlived his good son. And here he is, this bad man, doing the only good thing he can do, which is try to set up his granddaughter and his daughter-in-law's future. And continuing to have to go down that dark path. And her reminding him of that. And that in turn also reminding him of Ziegler. He snaps on her. And I didn't think he was going to hit her, but boy did it look like he was coming close to at least physically grabbing her. And then just walking off without telling her what happened and just getting into his car. Basically knowing, like, I'm probably walking away from this house for at least a long while once the little girl tells her mom what happened. She's not going to want her dad over there. And if they do, it's going to be a long chat about what the fuck is going on with Mike. And he can't tell her. So, that was a really tough scene. I wonder how hard that was for him to do that scene, yelling at a little girl like that. I mean, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. Too much dope down the chute. That's another really funny scene. Our drugged out guys from the beginning show up at the dope house that we saw in the last episode, where they put the drugs down the gutter, and she puts all of them down at the same time, and they get stuck. Now, honestly, I don't see how 10 little baggies would get stuck down that drain unless it was already clogged. If it was already clogged, because that's what people will say, well, maybe it was already clogged. I don't know if that really would have done it to jam them up, but whatever. It's fine. It's a tiny little thing. It's not even a gripe. It's just more like a hmm. And so, but it does set up later on where, you know, they have poker night. Nacho is trying to get to know Lalo better, to get in good graces with him, to get information for Gus. He already screws it up by talking at the table while they're playing, and not and Crazy Eight. He's not known as Crazy Eight at this point. Um, lets Lalo win a hand. He's got pocket eights, and he had a whole set. He had three eights on the turn, and they get a phone call, and he knows basically that he let him win. The machismo doesn't let him say, "Oh, you let me win." He's just saying that he's, Crazy Eight. What did he say, Ocho Loco? And that's the where Crazy Eight's name came from. And it's just a small detail, a little Easter egg for those that pay attention, that are fans of Breaking Bad. If you've never seen Breaking Bad, that's a kind of a big deal for the beginning of the season, or the series of Breaking Bad, is the introduction of Crazy Eight to the show. It's the first time that Walter really makes, well, he makes several bad decisions throughout the series, and Crazy Eight's run-in with Walter is one of the big early moments for old Walter White. And knowing where his nickname comes from, it's just a nice little nod to everybody that watches and loves this show. When the cops come, and I love this scene though, as him Crazy Eight's trying to get the drugs out of the drain. The guy's rapping, the cops show up, and he's standing on the ladder. Oh, just trying to, it's just a little blocked up. Boom. All the drugs come out, and him just being like, It reminds me of the scene in Big Lebowski when the look on John Turturro's face when he's supposed to go door to door and tell everybody he's a pedophile, and the door opens and there's this huge guy looking at him, and that he has to tell that guy he's a pedophile, and that look on his face of like, huh, that's what Crazy Eight looked like in that scene. And so the cops come, Lalo and Nacho and the two dealers are there watching the cops get ready to raid the place, find all the money and the drugs. Well, I think they got the money on them, but they're going to lose all their drugs. First thing I thought was, he called the cops on this place. Now, it could have been random. It could be random, but it just seems like it really odd timing for the cops to show up. But, I mean, I guess it is a drug area. But I wouldn't have put it past Lalo to call in on their own spot. Because if they lose drugs, that means it hurts them. But I think it probably hurts them too, so I don't know. But Nacho, in desperate times, desperate measures, gets out of the car, climbs onto the roof of the adjoining building, daredevils his way across, jumping like rooftop to rooftop, as Lalo and the rest of them laugh and go, oh God, he's going to get caught. They're talking almost like they're watching a movie. He goes in, gets the drugs, cops come busting in, he jumps out the window, jumps back into the car, as Lalo then decides to call him a badass. And it was badass. But, I mean, it's badass in the kind of way that you watch, these are bad people. These are people doing bad things. So, I mean, if he gets caught, good. If he doesn't, he's going to get caught for something later. I don't know. It's the kind of show that makes you sympathize sometimes with the bad guys like Sopranos and all that stuff. But I don't want anything. I kind of want to see Nacho get out of this. So I'm glad that he got into the car and everything. And hopefully he can get some information on Lalo for Gus and help his family out. But I don't think Nacho's getting out of this. Drug dealers don't tend to do so well in these kind of shows. Just watch The Wire, okay? Just about nobody got out of that show that was into shady shit. Jimmy wheeling and dealing at the courthouse leading up to his being trapped in the elevator with the assistant district attorney from last season, who they conned into the Huel moments where they called all the phones and they did the letter writing campaign. She's back. They're stuck in the elevator, and he takes this time to wheel and deal for all his clients while they can't get in there because she is brushing him off, making him keep her appointments that he has, and he's trying to turn over all his clients to make a bunch of money. She calls him out on it. So when she won't play ball, what does he do? He pays a guy to turn the elevator off. Freaking great. And he walks away clean. He pays the guy, says, hey, I'll take care of your brother or cousin or whatever it was, and leaves. But then, as he's leaving, who pulls up but Nacho Varga with a job for him. And if you saw the trailer, you know that it has to do with them trying to set up Eduardo. And I had, just before that scene happened, I read an article about how Jimmy is going to be the one that fixes the Eduardo situation for Gus. We'll see. It's only episode 3, so we'll see how that all pans out. But another frigging fantastic episode of Better Call Saul, already 2 episodes in, and it's still better than most things that I've been watching lately. So anyway, can't wait to get to it. Next Monday will be episode 3. We won't have one on Sunday. That was just a fluke, just so that AMC could get everybody to watch on Walking Dead premiere night. So if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. Honestly, share this video with people. If you're not a subscriber and you're enjoying this content, and like and subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. See you guys next week on more Better Call Saul. Bye.